Well, we had the Putco wildcat strike developing in Joburg earlier. In Cape Town, recent taxi violence, seeing Golden Arrow buses being torched. Problems, of course, in Hout Bay as well. The city seems to be trying to mediate between taxi associations. Councillor J.P. Smith is the member of the Mayoral Committee for Safety and Security there. Councillor Smith, good afternoon to you. What's the latest?
Afternoon. I think the conflict is behind us. We've had 2 days without incidents now. We met on Monday with Kata and Santaka to discuss the nature of the problem. Essentially, this problem arose after the city about 2 weeks ago did enforcement actions in Nyanga and surrounds, and the components within the taxi industry then engaged in violent action, presumably as a deterrent from us either continuing the enforcement actions or repeating them. And in response, the city then deployed, along with SAPS, quite significant resources to the area. One, to prevent the further damages to Golden Arrow buses, city vehicles and city facilities. But secondly, also to continue the enforcement operations, because what cannot happen is that some persons are able by virtue of threat or violence to determine who the law applies to and who it doesn't. So we did draw a line in the sand on this one. And after the meeting on Monday, it appears that the taxi leadership did put their foot down with their structures. We've seen no further violence. The Golden Arrow buses are running again. We've opened cases against those persons arrested for violence or where we could identify them from video footage. We've opened cases against persons who attacked traffic officers, who had illegal firearms in their possession. And of course, the large number of people arrested for outstanding warrants. Over the last few days, we've still been impounding vehicles and continuing the operations. But if there's no further violence till the end of today, those operations will cease after midnight tonight.
It seems one of the big problems is permits. I mean, as I understand it, I think there are only 17 taxis allowed to, actual minibus taxis allowed to operate in Nyanga because people just haven't been applying for permits.
So the only 17 have legal permits at the moment, but this is entirely a problem of the making of the industry itself, as was acknowledged by Qatar in the meeting on Monday. The officials from the provincial regulator pointed out that 400 permits had been made available to them, that they only took up 170 of the permits. The rest have been lying there, not used by their own hand. And that of the permits that were issued before, most or almost all of the permits have lapsed and have not been renewed. So this is entirely a situation that is under the control of the taxi industry and the taxi operators themselves. It's not something that the city or the province can fix for them. They must make the application. We can't become the applicant on behalf of private taxi or on behalf of taxi operators. So at this stage, only 17 have valid permits within those sedan taxis or so-called amapelas to run in the area. This is something that they will need to address. Province and city have agreed to support them in getting these permit applications renewed as speedily as possible.
Why do you think people weren't applying for permits? I mean, it seems obvious it's something you have to do.
This is something you will have to ask the association. It may have something to do with the extent of roadworthiness of the vehicles, in that they may not be able to get permits if the vehicles are not roadworthy. But then the correct answer is, well, the safety of people in a public transport vehicle in Nyanga is as important as the safety of a public transport user anywhere else. And we should not be compromising those by saying, well, it's okay for unroadworthy vehicles to be used in one part of the city, but not in other parts of the city. All commuters are equally important, and we shouldn't be permitting any public transport vehicle on the road without valid operating, without a roadworthy vehicle. And so I think that's really a non-negotiable, and if that is the reason, then that's something that they will need to address. But there are other problems with the industry as well. This morning we had a portfolio committee meeting where one of the local ward councillors pointed out that the Amapela vehicles are responsible or implicated or involved in significant crime, robbery, assault, sexual assault, and other crimes in the community. And in fact, even this morning, I had a call from a lady from the Nyanga area praising us and expressing appreciation for the operations that we're doing and asking us not to stop. So I think there's the people on both sides of the argument in terms of some appreciating the fact that we're holding people to account, and on the other side, wanting things to calm down in Nyanga, which I also fully appreciate, because clinics and schools and others have been impacted, and we want those to work and run. So we're glad that the situation is stabilized now. And in terms of the intervention of responsible taxi leadership at some point, that's appreciated. It would perhaps have been better if the violence didn't start in the first place.
Councillor J.P. Smith, thank you, member of the Mayoral Committee for Community Safety in the City of Cape Town. Do appreciate it. In a moment.